Okay, what we have here is my 2020 KTM Lemon. And I say that as someone who has owned this bike for over a year, and it has given me enough problems that Lemon is the only name that's appropriate. I spent the last few days making sure that my tires were balanced, my chain was in good shape, put a new plastic skid plate on it, new oil change, new coolant, new navigation system from CarpyRide. Fully loaded the luggage yesterday. I was ready to leave this weekend to meet ADV Matt in the Black Hills of South Dakota when I found last night, I don't know if you can see it, my shock is now leaking. So, despite my best laid plans and all my prep work, a little bit of test riding with the luggage on the road was enough for my shock to give up. I really hate this bike. Welcome back to the 2020 390 Adventure, a motorcycle that sold for about $6,000, the first adventure bike from the KTM Bajaj partnership. So we're on an Indian-made KTM with almost 26,000 miles on it. And I don't really have anything to rant about this bike. But I seem to be on this bike ranting all the time because my godforsaken 790 Adventure, every time I count on it, it has a problem. I love riding this bike. It's my favorite bike I've ever owned. I have so much fun on this bike. It is the definition of greater than the sum of its parts. But gosh darn it, it should not be more reliable than a bike that KTM sold for almost $15,000. Almost triple the cost of this bike. But here I am once again on this bike. The last time I counted on the KTM 790, I ended up on my Honda. I just hate that bike. And I've never hated a bike before. I've always prided myself on getting on a motorcycle and just having a good time, just enjoying it. And I've had bikes break down. I mean, they're a machine. There's all these moving parts wearing down. But goodness gracious, I cannot count on my 790. It is absurd the amount of times something goes wrong. So I've had an electrical problem. Turns out they're famous for those. Now I have a leaky rear shock. Did I just say, what the heck did I just say? Now I have a leaky rear shock, which, taking another look on the internet, oh wow, they're famous for those between 10 and 15,000 miles. I made it to like 15,008 miles, and there goes my rear shock. And I've been riding that bike for a month and a half to make sure the darn thing wasn't going to give up on me before I rode it from New York to South Dakota. I'm like, I'm going to give it all the time it needs to fail. No hard off-road, a little bit of gravel, a little bit of dirt, nothing that stretched that shock. And 90% of that riding for the past month or two, roads just like this. Relaxing roads, not trying that shock at all. And I even invested in the heat shield that a lot of people do recommend to keep the heat from the resonator off of it. Now, I didn't believe that that was part of the problem. I would think that that's just something, you know, you're looking for a reason. Perhaps heat is it, but I didn't think the heat shield would help, and sure enough, my bike had a heat shield, didn't change a thing. My bike failed within that window that the 790 adventure boards on Facebook are saying it's probably going to fail. And I tell you, I just can't even with that bike anymore. I just can't believe that these bikes, the 790 Adventure R and the 890R, these are $15,000 bikes. And they break down a lot. And obviously my experience is anecdotal. My electrical failure, my sensor failures could happen to anybody, just happened to happen to me. The shocks, you know, my shock failed, no big deal. But the thing is, when I go to look, and I should stop doing this, but when my bike has a failure, gosh darn it, I go to the internet, and then I find out, oh wow, I should have expected this. My recommendation to you, my friends, my recommendation to any motorcyclist, if you are thinking for more than a minute about a 790 or an 890 based bike, go to Facebook, go to ADV Rider, and just put in 790 space problem. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And if you specifically put in electrical problem, wheel problem, or shock problem, you will perish from old age before reading all of the examples. And we haven't even gotten to the mother of all motorcycle defects, and that is the cams in the LC8 engine. Every one of these is a worry because of the sheer number of people that have had their cams wear out on them in less than 20,000 miles. In some cases, people are posting on, get this, the Facebook group with thousands of people in it specifically for cam failure. You don't even need to go to a generic group and search failed cams. There's a group of thousands of people posting pictures of their failed cams on this motor. I'm laughing because the only other alternative is to cry because I own one. Oh, geez. Yep, circling back. If you're looking at a 790 or an 890 and you're thinking, I like that bike, do yourself a favor. Do some research. Obviously, it's not going to happen to everybody, but holy shoot. I've owned a lot of bikes. I've never seen a dedicated group to a serious engine failure. It's just sad. It's so sad. I am going to keep my bike, my 790 Adventure, because at this point, I don't know that I could sell it in good conscience. Every time I turn around, every time I count on it, it lets me down. I don't think I need the karma of being the guy that gave another rider this headache of a monstrosity. I have a new shock on the way from an awesome guy who literally gave it to me when I made a post about my shock. He said, hey, send me shipping. I will mail it out. So I've got a shock coming. I can then get my shock rebuilt, resprung and valved for my weight, a little bit lower. All sorts of fun. You know, KTM, just keep sinking money. But, I can't even. I am attached to this bike forever now. I guess until one day I snap. one day it's going to let me down when I need it to, and I'm just going to borrow the neighbor's backhoe, and I am going to put that 790 Adventure at the bottom of a hole. And I tell you, on that day, it will probably be the most relaxed afternoon I've ever had, because I am tired of ranting about the same darn motorcycle. All right, I'm just gonna ride out here in the beautiful country on my bike that, while it will someday fail, hasn't yet treated me well. So I'm gonna enjoy it. The 390 Adventure and I are heading to see ADV Matt, leaving this weekend so I can take my time getting there. If you stuck around, I truly appreciate it, and really, I hope you don't own a 790. Take care.